I just want to say, really, really, look around the room here. Look at all the folks in this room here. I know many of you, and I can only tell you that I have great appreciations for what you've done for me, because you brought me into your lives in one way or another, and you've asked me to participate with either, you know, something that's going on, a care, concern, something in your life that made me understand what I could do to help that. But what's even more important is that, again, know that every one of you in one way or another has influenced me, because who am I? I am the fabric of this room. And I want to thank everybody, including my dais here, my fellow commissioners, for helping me be who I am today, helping me to be reelected in this place, to continue to do what I can do at any time, as Patty spoke, you know, from the heart, because that's the only interest that I have, is to be of service to you all. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here tonight, taking time out of your lives to share this special moment with me. So the applause goes to you. Thank you, folks.
Well done, Commissioner. Don't forget to sign. You gotta sign. Yep. Did you sign the oath? Well done, Vice Mayor. How do you have the oath? He needs to sign it.
There's more? I thought that was it.
He has to sign them. Sign them both. And let me remind you, after the swearing in, we're gonna have a little reception at the Frank, right next door. Bill and I, we're gonna have cake, a little coffee, a little soft drink. So right next door, before our meeting starts.
Thank you.
I just want to say, hey.
That's yours. These over the top. I know you have. Perfect. Thank you, Patty. Now we have Commissioner Angelo Castillo. Commissioner.
Hello, good evening, good evening. Good to see you. Pleasure. Commissioner, if you'll approach the podium. Nice to see you. Not yet. Getting closer. Good evening, everybody. I'm Sam Gorin, the City Attorney. I'm happy to be with you all this evening, and thank you for coming to this hallowed chamber for this particular event. In preparing just briefly for tonight's presentation to swear in Commissioner Castillo, several things came to mind, and that is the fact that there was an election on March the 8th. And the reason that we are here this evening is because you were elected by the folks in your district and returned you back to office. This is a quiet moment. This is a comforting moment with friends, with family, with colleagues, and with others that have come to celebrate the moment. We live in a very, very harried world at the moment. When you look at Ukraine and you think about the unspeakable atrocities that occur across the ocean, very, very terrible times and very polarized and very divisive. Between those countries. We also see our U.S. Congress, which is also divisive and sometimes very disharmonious in the context of what they do and how they do it. And sometimes things don't get done as much as we'd like them to happen. Even in Florida, the State House, State Senate this past session, they were divisive on some things not, but some things they were. But the preemption issues that we talk about on the dais all the time were something that we have to contend with. But tonight's a different issue. Tonight's issue is that this is a place of harmony, a place of commitment, a place of engagement with your family, with your wife, your daughter, and with those who came out this evening to celebrate this event. And that kind of takes away the disharmony and takes away the divisiveness and hopefully opens the door for something very important. And it's with that great honor that I would then offer the following oath. I'd ask that you please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Angelo Castillo, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support, you can do both, that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States and the state of Florida and the charter and ordinances of the city of Pembroke Pines, that I am duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state, and that I will well and faithfully perform all the duties of the office of City Commissioner for District 4, on which I'm now about to enter. So help me God. Congratulations.
Thank you all very, very much. Thank you. And thank you for being here. And in a little while, in just a couple of seconds, I look forward to sharing some time with you next door. And I hear they're having cake and coffee, which is great. Let me begin by thanking my wife, Lisa, who is here, and my daughter, Alexandra, who is at work, and my daughter, Caroline, who is here. They are at the very center of my life, and they make all of the challenges, they make all of the challenges and all of the sacrifices look easy, but they put up with a lot so that I can do the work that I do. And I'm very, very thankful to them for that. Let me also thank my campaign staff, Amy Rose and Mike Kaplan, who Tom also used, and they did a really, really great job. And let me thank Mr. Dodge and the city attorney, Mr. Gordon. Mr. Gorin, thank you so much for swearing me in. City Clerk Graham, the City Commission, and all of the staff for doing a great job here in Pembroke Pines. And let me also thank all of the people who voted. 67% of you said, I want him to stay. Which means 33% didn't. And I want you to know, whether you voted for me or not, you will always have my vote. In everything that I do, I will be looking to make sure that everyone in this city gets a fair shake, a fair shot, and that the good things that we do in this community are done. And the things that aren't so good are rejected. Because that's what's important. When we make a bad decision, you get hurt. And when we make a good decision, you benefit. And that's what we're here to do. We are here to work for you, never the other way around. One of the things that I like to do is talk to people about what's on their mind. And in this last election, as I often do, I did a poll. Now, I'm not going to make the poll public. It belongs to my campaign. But I am going to share some notes. And I'll give these notes to the clerk afterwards for whoever it is that has an interest in reading them. One of the questions that I asked was, how satisfied are you with your city commission? I ask this every time I run. And I want you to know that 40% of the voters, now let me back up. We hoped to get 300 responses, because that would give a margin of error about 3%. We got 950 responses to my poll. So this is very accurate. And that's why about 6 or 7 months ago, for those of you that saw me on the golf course, I already knew I had a pretty good sense of how this was going to turn out. Not only the first place winner, but also the second and the third place winner. It was a very, very accurate poll. 40% of the people in our city said that they're very satisfied with our performance as a city commission. 44% said they were neither satisfied or dissatisfied, and 16% said they were dissatisfied. Put another way, about 60% of the people in this city weren't happy with how we were performing. But the good news is they told us how to fix it. I asked them, what are your top 5 issues? And here's what they said. Traffic and overdevelopment. 87% listed that as the #1 issue, traffic and overdevelopment. Too many cars. Too slow on the road. #2 issue was the first time I'd ever seen it in the top 10, and I'm only going to review 5 with you. Recycling and trash. People are very, very upset that we're no longer recycling, and people are very, very upset with the service they're getting. And it's not an easy fix, but we have people here who understand that issue and who are going to understand it better, and we're going to get to the bottom line of how to fix that. #3 issue, affordable housing. I can't tell you how many parents are telling me, if only my son, 27 years old, could find an apartment. I want to sell this house and get out, but I can't. This is a city that should be building more affordable housing for our own people so that once they get a job, they can go and begin their lives outside of mom's house. And we can do that. We can do that. #3 issue. #4 issue, public safety. The single most important thing you need to remember is that Pembroke Pines residents are fiercely proud of our police department. They do an exceptional job. But when they don't see them often enough because we don't have enough cops on the streets doing community patrols, that's when you start seeing the Ring videos going viral, kids coming up, pulling car doors in the middle of the night. They want community patrols. And if we just give it to them, they'll be happier. And the last issue in the top 5, taxes and fees. They want us to hold the line on taxes and fees. It's getting tougher and tougher to make ends meet. This is their prescription for taking that 60% and flipping it around minimally. And I want you to know that we can do that. We can do that by focusing our attention on what it is that's important and not paying attention to things that really aren't important, like who the next mayor is going to be, or I don't know, who the next vice mayor is going to be, or those kinds of things are unimportant. What's important is making sure that this city continues to be that city I always talk to you about. The city that can, the city that does, and the city that will. So let's go get some cake and get back to work.
So for everybody, this concludes our swearing in, and if everybody would just make it over to the Frank, right across the way there, we're all gonna have cake and hugs and love.
You get the certificate. Yeah.
So we did trade. Hold another drink.
Thank you, my name.
Are you going over? Not going over? Hey, how are you?
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Told there was a guardian ad litem proclamation tonight. But it's a meeting over. copy change on, I just have to move Oh, yes.
Where's Sam? Hey, Sam.
Yes.
How are you, buddy? Oh, good, good. Good to see you here. How's your wife doing?
She's doing well. I'll say hello for you, I promise. I will do that. Good to see you.
No, I'm a
You're okay, so you'd be part of that?
Yes.
Right, so if
Yes.
anything,
Okay, so what
what was your name?
Cindy Eisen, E-I-S-E-N.
Cindy,
E-I-S-E-n.
great, okay.
Hi, Iris.
I'll let the mayor know.
I'm here for guardian ad litem.
Yes.
Okay, so when does the meeting start?
The meeting is supposed to, well, it normally would start at 6:30, but we're having a momentary break
Got it. Okay.
for the.
I thought the meeting was over. I'm like,
Oh, no,
why
it's
am I
not
here?
over. This
Okay.
part of it is,
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
thank you.
Hi, tell me if I did okay here.
22, item 22. Item 22 on the agenda, and that is, so when the Eagles went, oh, okay. So you will be called at the time that the item goes before commission. Because it wouldn't be, it's not item at the request of the public, which if it was, then I would have called on on you to speak regarding some other item. But because it's on item 22, then when item 22 comes up, that's when he'll call you to speak. All right? Thank you.
The hot mic?
Yes, go on.
Just turn on. Huh? Yeah. Yeah.
You ready? Ready? If we could all take our seats, we're ready to start our meeting, please. Thank you. Vice Mayor is here. There he is. All right, we're here. Let's call the roll call, please, City Clerk.
Commissioner Castillo,
Here.
Vice Mayor Good,
I'm here.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Here.
Commissioner Seifel,
I'm here.
Mayor Ordus,
Here.
City Manager Dodge,
Here.
City Attorney Gorin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. We have a couple of proclamations we're going to present. Thank you. This is a proclamation of the City of Pembroke Pines for National Child Abuse Prevention Month and National Volunteer Week. And do we have a volunteer? There we are. Come on down. How are you? Yeah, come on down. I know. How are you? How are you? All right. Okay. Oh, everybody come on down. That's all right. This is a great organization. All right, from the City of Pembroke Pines. Whereas April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month, and April 17th to the 23rd, 2022 is National Volunteer Week. And whereas the Florida Garden ad litem office provides representation for abused, abandoned, and neglected children in dependency court proceedings. And whereas the Florida Guardian ad litem office current best interest model of representation is nationally recognized as best practice because it uses a multidisciplinary team model that includes an attorney, a certified child advocate manager, and a trained volunteer or pro bono attorney. And whereas for more than 40 years, the Florida Guardian of ad litem has provided the most vulnerable children in Florida with an adult from their community who is consistent, positive presence in a child's life. And whereas the Florida Guardian ad litem office provides the highest quality community advocacy and legal representation to protect each child's rights and best interests. And whereas for more than 30 years, the Florida Guardian ad litem office has provided independent legal advocacy for hundreds of thousands of vulnerable children located throughout Florida. And whereas in 2021, the Florida Guardian ad litem office has more than 13,000 volunteers, and those volunteers advocated for more than 37,000 children in Florida. And whereas the Guardian ad litem program is the 17th Judicial Court, Broward County oversees a volunteer base of over 520 people. and those volunteers advocate for more than 1,500 children in Broward County. And whereas Guardian Ad Litem pro bono attorneys sacrifice time worth over $3 million annually to the state of Florida, and whereas Guardian Ad Litem volunteers sacrifice time and mileage worth millions of dollars annually to the state of Florida, and whereas Guardian Ad Litem volunteers have provided invaluable service to dependency court judges, and whereas studies show that children with a guardian ad litem are more likely to be adopted, half as likely to re-enter foster care, less likely to spend time in long-term foster care, and more likely to have a permanency plan, and more likely to perform well in school. And now, therefore, I, Frank Sears, Mayor of the greatest city in the world, Pembroke Pines, on behalf of the City Commission, hereby proclaim April 22nd as Child Abuse Prevention Month and April 17, 23rd, 2022 as National Volunteer Week in the city of Pembroke Pines, Florida. Congratulations.
No, I can take one off. Thank you very much. We appreciate this. We can't do what we do without the volunteers, so I'm glad there's a couple here. Understand that the children that we work with come into dependency care, come into foster care through no fault of their own. They come into care because law enforcement deemed that their home was unsafe, which means the parents got in trouble with the law, whether it was domestic violence, drugs, whatever, gang activity. The children were removed. Think about that for a minute. Think about your children coming home one day or being woken up in the middle of the night and hustled off into a car. You don't live here anymore. What's going on? So who stays with that child to make sure they don't fall through the cracks? Who stays with that child to make sure that they don't end up as a news story on the 6 o'clock news? Have we all heard those stories? They weren't seen for 6 months. By the time they were seen, okay? These ladies and the gentlemen and the people that volunteer with us. So if you have some time, we could really use you and the children could use you. Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? It's a great organization. We've been advocating it for a number of years, and the volunteerism is tremendous. I think he was just, I don't think he's here.
So he took my email address and nothing?
Maybe. If we see him, we'll do it again. Oh, here. We'll improvise.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Our next proclamation is the National Autism Awareness Month. Someone's here? Okay. How are you? Congratulations. This is, whereas Autism Awareness Month is observed annually in April, and April 2nd, 2022 is recognized as the United Nations sanctioned World Autism Awareness Day. Both designations are intended to increase understanding and acceptance of people with autism. And whereas autism or autism spectrum disorder refers to a broad range of conditions characterized by challenges with social skill, repetitive behaviors, speech, and nonverbal communication. It is often accompanied by medical issues such as GI disorders, seizures, sleep disturbances, anxiety, and depression. Research indicates that early diagnosis, intervention, and access to support services leads to positive outcomes later in life for people with the disorder. And whereas the National Autism Awareness Month is backed by the Autism Society of America, which has local chapters throughout the United States, which holds special events throughout April and undertake a number of activities to raise awareness about autism. And whereas Autism Awareness Month promotes acceptance and celebration of autistic people who are family members, friends, classmates, co-workers, and community members, and the valuable contributions they make to our world. And whereas autism is a natural variation of the human experience, and we can all create a world which values, includes, and celebrates all kinds of minds. Now therefore, I, Frank Ciordas, Mayor of the City of Pembroke Pines, on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim April 2022 as National Autism Awareness Month in the City of Pembroke Pines, and encourage all residents to be better informed, more empathetic, and supportive towards people with autism. Congratulations.
Thank you all. You know, with the recent data that came out of the CDC in just December, 1 out of every 44 children in this country has an autism spectrum disorder. Part of that is because we've gotten better, you know, at being able to diagnose and recognize, you know, that it exists within the children that we're really, you know, helping out in our school system. But also, just in Broward County, our schools that have programs for kids who have significant autism has drastically increased over the last 25 years. So it's not just better diagnosing. And many people with autism, hopefully you know some, can bless your lives and teach you things that you never knew before. And I love seeing police officers around because we do spend a lot of time as an organization educating our police officers so that they can build relationships with those who have autism, because unfortunately, our people tend to, you know, need police officers quite often, a little bit more than the average person, and we want them to be able to have great relationships with them so that both parties understand each other. So thank you all so much for recognizing this very important.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Okay. I have another one. Commissioner Seipel, are you helping me with this one?
I thought I was with the autism one. But
What's that?
I thought I was with the autism with my item.
Well, I'm confused then. No, keep it in the envelope. Do it.
But Mayor, if
Well, come down to help me with this.
okay. Mayor, if I could, before I come down though, I would like to, just thank Stacy Huling for being here. And you are actually the president of the Florida Autism Society of Florida. And I know she mentioned our police, and I know this is a discussion that I've had with many of our police officers and our chiefs and she brought it up that when a person who is on the spectrum has need of a police officer or a rescue, so it's our police and fire, they have to be treated differently. They have to be handled differently, and sometimes not handled is the answer, the no touching and all that. So I'm very proud to say that our police and fire are trained and continually trained on how to deal should they come upon, you know, a situation where there is someone who's on the spectrum, that it is a different situation to be held. So, yes, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, our next one, I'm supposed to be giving it to Cindy Eisen, and it's for Adrena Wilson and Megan Tereski, and this is also for child abuse prevention. Okay, and I was told just to give it to you. Is that correct? Okay. We can read it if you'd like. I was told just to give it. You did a very good job. All right, thank you very much.
Can I announce that the third, I'm going to announce that the public department is going to next. Mayor, if I may, the third presentation item that was published on the agenda will be read at the April 20th meeting. The presentation relating to the Police Department Victim Advocate Unit, that will be read at the April 20th meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor? All right, we're now at the appointment of Vice Mayor. Do I have a motion for Vice Mayor?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion
Go ahead, Commissioner Seipel.
that for this year, coming up 2022, 2023, that I would like to nominate Jay Schwartz, Commissioner Jay Schwartz, for the position.
Okay, nomination for Jay Schwartz for Vice Mayor. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, it's a nomination. Mr. Mayor would not require a second.
Okay. All right, we have a nomination for Jay Schwartz.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just
Vice
ask
Mayor?
a question. Yes.
Go ahead.
So, discussion is appropriate?
Go ahead. I guess.
I mean, I
City
don't
Attorney?
have any issues with Commissioner Schwartz being, the vice mayor and things like that, but I do know that, I'm reflecting on this 4 years ago for me.
Right.
And we went through this process of trying to get ourselves back to a whole, I guess, if you will, right? So, I just want to make certain that when we are talking about the normal rotation, we are in a normal rotation. Is that correct at this time?
City Attorney, it is correct? City Attorney?
Mr. Mayor, if I may respond briefly?
Sure.
If the question is whether you're in the proper rotation, just let me just elaborate just for a moment of your time, if you will, just to put on the record what the basis of that is. The City Commission adopted an ordinance in 2009, ordinance number 1647, which is codified in section 30.01. If you'll allow me just to read the brief portion which relates to the question that that Commissioner Vice Mayor Good asked, I think it would be helpful for you to digest that for your discussion this evening. And it talks about the following under subsection B of 30.01. It says the vice mayor shall be selected in accordance with the charter of the city and shall be a member of the city commission who has not just recently served as the vice mayor or the vice mayor designate where possible. To the extent possible that the members of the city commission deem it appropriate, the regular order of nominating a member of the city commission to serve as vice mayor is presumed to be as follows: Commissioner from District 4, Commissioner from District 2, Commissioner from District 3, and Commissioner from District 1. Beginning with the second regularly scheduled meeting of the City Commission in April each year, upon the election of a new vice mayor in accordance with the charter, the vice mayor shall become the vice mayor designate for the following year. And it goes on to talk about the election. So that is the operative section of the city code, which was, again, codified from the ordinance in 2009. And to the extent possible, it is the law in the city as it relates to this particular decision.
All right. No further discussion?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Mr. City Attorney,
Yes.
who's the vice mayor designate?
Beginning with the second regularly scheduled meeting of the City Commission in April of each year, upon the election of the new vice mayor in accordance with the charter, the vice
No,
mayor
sir,
designate.
you misunderstood my question. Who's the current vice mayor designate?
I don't know the answer, Mr. Commissioner. I'm not sure I can answer that question.
Well, who was the vice mayor before Vice Mayor Good?
I'll give you some information that we gleaned from the public records, if you will.
Okay, I'll wait.
Going back to 2009, April 1 of 2009, District 4 was elected for that year. It was Commissioner Castillo. In April of 2010, it was District 2. It was Jack McCluskey.
Mm-hmm.
In April of 2011, it was Commissioner Seipel. In April of 2012, it was Commissioner Schechter. The next rotation was April the 3rd of 2013, Commissioner Castillo.
Mm-hmm.
Then followed by Commissioner Schwartz on April the 9th of 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Followed by Vice Mayor Seipel on April 1 of 2015. Followed by Commissioner Schechter at 4/6/2016. Then in April of 2017, Commissioner Castillo became the vice mayor. In April of 2018, it was Tom Good Jr. On April the 3rd of 2019, it became Jay Schwartz. And the reference from the city clerk indicates the term split. And the split was between Iris Seipel, who was initially for the period running from 4/6/2020 through 9/30/2020, and then picked up by District Commissioner Jay Schwartz on 5/6/2020. Was the vice mayor for the period 10/1/2020 through 4/7/2021. And then on 4/7/2021, District 1, Commissioner Good became the vice mayor, and he's the vice mayor today.
So the last vice mayor before Vice Mayor Good was Commissioner Schwartz?
That appears to be, for the public record, the last.
So Commissioner Schwartz is the vice mayor designate, correct?
That's what it says.
So here's the problem. The problem is that, and I've raised this before, last year I had to recuse myself because I refused to vote in favor of a designation that violated the ordinance. And while I understand that you have over the years, and I'm saying now years because it's been about 5 now, taken the view that the commission wasn't in violation. In the first year that there was a skip, I guess you're entitled to that opinion, Mr. City Attorney. But when it becomes a pattern over successive years, that becomes harder an argument to make. So I think the solution that makes the most sense now is that we redo the ordinance. And you should know that Mr. Horowitz and I remember those days. He was a much younger lawyer, and I was a much younger commissioner. We put 4 numbers in a hat, and my daughter Caroline pulled. She was little at the time. She pulled it out of Daddy's hat, and it came out in the order that is currently there. And I transmitted that to him by email, and that's how it ended up. It couldn't have been easier. And what I suggest that we do is redo the ordinance in that very way. We could even do it right now. We could pick somebody at random in the audience and have them pick the numbers 1 through 4. And on our honor, whoever is picked first will be the vice mayor, and we will follow that order. Because we are out of order here with the ordinance. We can't select someone who's just been vice mayor, and we can't select someone who's most recently been vice mayor if we can help it, and we can help it. So I think we're out of order in terms of the compliance with the ordinance. This suggestion actually was made by Commissioner Schwartz during the time that I was away from the dais. He saw what the problem was, and he recommended that we amend the ordinance. So I think that that's what we should do. I think that's the fair and proper thing to do now.
Mayor, may I?
A point of clarification.
Otherwise, I can't support violating the ordinance. Thank you.
There was never a mention, I never mentioned amending the ordinance. What I mentioned was correcting a wrong and making it right. And Vice Mayor Good recognizes that. We're actually back to 2009. If you listen to the city attorney, District 2, it's a District 2 seat. It's not an individual commissioner seat. The District 2 seat was 10, 14, 18, and now we're at 22. So we're actually in compliance with the ordinance as written and adopted back in 2009, which predates me even being here.
City Attorney, point of clarification?
Yes, Mayor.
It's good?
What's the question there?
He had a point of clarification, you just read it to you.
Point of clarification is that this ordinance, which is adopted by the prior commissions in recent years, has been implemented over the years. I gave you the best information I could from the public records referencing how it actually evolved over time. From the standpoint of interpretation, there's language in the code specifically which provides for language which gives this commission certain flexibility, which I've answered before in the years that you've asked these questions. But the decision ultimately with regard to how you assign a member of this commission on this dais as your vice mayor is interpreted by you as a public body, as a collegial body. It is not an issue or an item which affects any other third party except yourselves. It is a membership relationship on this dais as you sit together as a collegial body. You can't pick a mayor because mayors are selected by the electors of the city. You can't pick a commissioner because they're elected by the members of the public by district. But this item happens to be an issue which is controlled by you as public officials on this dais on an annual basis. If the ordinance is infirm, then it can be corrected, but in the context of how it's interpreted is in your hands legally.
Commissioner Seipel, I heard you.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. City Attorney, I listened very carefully to what you said, and I've read your memos that you've sent to us over this. My understanding, and correct me if I'm understanding you wrong, is that there's not specific language in there that says shall or must. It's that it's at the discretion of the commission as to the directions that they will take and the nominations that they will take. And based upon if that was correct, that was the basis for my wanting to move forward with that. So I want to know that that's the correct understanding.
May I respond, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, please.
There's language in subsection B that says the following, and there are several words and phrases that do have legal meaning. one of which is to the extent possible that the members of the city commission in the following language deem it appropriate. Under Florida law, there are several concepts in the context of what's mandatory and what's called precatory. Precatory means it may be discretionary. The language that you find in subsection B was written in such a way that would give this commission flexibility to the degree that they chose to exercise that flexibility. We wrote this section for the commission, but you directed us to draft it that way and approved it by the appropriate vote. In fact, to the extent that I know the answer.
City Attorney,
Yes.
so then discretionary means that it's not written in stone, it is discretionary, and we have the option to
What-
make choices as we see fit to do.
If I may, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, City
Thank you.
Attorney.
Commissioner, so the mandatory provision of subsection B says that you shall appoint a vice mayor. That is absolutely mandatory.
Okay,
You
and
don't have a
nobody's
choice
asking
there.
to not do that,
Right, that is a mandatory provision of that
Right.
section.
but nowhere else does it say who that nomination should be, is the word shall or must. It is discretionary, and as an elected official sitting up here, it is within my realm, I guess, if you want to call it that, to make a nomination and make a choice based upon whatever reasons that I would have for doing so. Is that not
That, Mayor-
my ability for that? Any of us, our ability for that?
May I respond, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, City Attorney.
This question's been asked in prior years, and my answer was the same in prior years, which answers your question affirmatively,
Yes, so do I have that opportunity?
And there's a nomination.
based on the language
floor.
I've given
And
in
I
subsection D.
exercised that this evening, and it's also my understanding that it's my choice, and no reasons need be given other than I have the ability to do that based upon the language that's written there, and that is my item. I made a motion, and since this does not need a second, I guess then we should call the roll.
Okay.
Mayor?
City Attorney, I have a motion on the
Mayor, in
floor.
the absence of any other nominations, that would be appropriate, Mr. Mayor.
City Clerk, call the roll.
Mayor, may I ask who seconded the,
There was no second, didn't need.
Mayor, to give better clarity, allow me to suggest that you do a motion in a second, just so that the record in the following terms will be
Okay,
clear.
but City Attorney,
Yes, ma'am.
you said
I
earlier,
did.
it does not require
It
a
does not
second.
specifically require that.
Okay, so then why would that change now?
I'm just giving you my best advice.
All right.
Okay.
So we have, Vice Mayor, you have?
Yes,
something?
Mr. Mayor, if I may
We're
speak
gonna move
before
on,
we,
so.
so this is, it is very important to me, and I don't disagree with anything that's been said on this point. I do know that, 4 years ago, we got out of our sequence, because the intent of the ordinance was for everybody to have, a fair opportunity, to be in the role of a vice mayor. And so me being a new guy on the block, I didn't really quite understand the gravity of that situation, and today I do. And it was during that process, or through the years, that we try to correct that and heal that, because at some point we split the vice mayor role into a 6-month and a 6-month to heal.
And the reason for that was to heal, like you said.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, and we worked at it. And then it was this time last year, almost exactly, that we had conversation, and I guess, to the attorney, I thought that at that time we had discussed what that sequence would be going forward, which this commission had lengthy conversation on, and we had come up with a rotation. And so I believe that rotation might have been different than what the ordinance states. So what is the relevancy or the meaning of that conversation?
A point of clarification for the Vice Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead, Commissioner Schwartz.
So your recollection is identical to mine. What's different is what's in the backup. What's in the backup is not consistent with the discussion and the action the commission took a year ago. So it's 3, 2, 1, 4 is what should be in the backup, but it's not tonight.
All right, City Attorney, we ready to proceed?
Mr. Mayor, to the extent,
Sorry?
Strike that, 2, 3, 1, 4. I misspoke. It's 2, 3, 1, 4 should have been in the backup.
City Attorney, we ready to
3,
proceed?
1, 4. So
I'm
So,
sorry, Royce, I thought you were done.
no, because I'm just trying to get
Go ahead.
my understanding, because this certainly will assist me in any future conversation as we engage this. So what we did last year, the conversation that we had, does that have any relevancy to what we're doing with tonight? I know that you spoke to the ordinance, but as Commissioner Schwartz said, there was some backup information that may not have been available to us tonight. Is that correct or no?
The backup didn't reflect the conversation a year ago. What's in the backup is not reflective of what we actually voted on, or by consensus.
A year ago?
A year ago, yeah. As a matter of fact, a year before that, when we did a split, there was discussion at this dais going all the way out to 2026.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that's why we did what we, you know, that's why we're here right now, in order to make sure that, you know, everything is healed up and moving forward in the way it's supposed to go.
Well, I guess I'm trying to get to that point there, because, you know, what we had conversation about a year ago, who would have been the next, what district would have been next? Four. But tonight, we're saying, let's bring it back to the ordinance?
If I may.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Commissioner Schwartz.
There was in April of 2020, when it was split in the 6 months, and then in 2021 to allow District 3 to continue, and then District 2 took the back half so that no one was short any time. As a result of what was caused by District 4, is the reason why you are sitting as Vice Mayor. You would have been District 1 would have had the opportunity in your second year in office, but that didn't happen because of the cog in the wheel that just did not work right. So, in fairness to you, the reason why you're Vice Mayor now is to go ahead and right a wrong. You were not asked to step in the role a year early, and by all means, you should not have been skipped in the year that you should have been there. So, and that's the year that we had the 6 month splits. So here we are, 4 years later, with a rotation of 2, 3, 1, 4.
All right.
So we're saying 2 this
3,
year,
3 next,
3 next year,
then 1,
1,
and then 4.
and 4.
All right.
Yep.
City Attorney, we have a motion on the floor?
You have a nomination on the floor without any objection, but you should take a roll.
I'd like to second the nomination. Let's go. Plus, this car's already parked in the vice mayor's spot, so let's move on.
City Clerk?
I'd like to ask one more question still, though. So now it seems that
Vice
we've...
Mayor, good, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
That's all right.
Thank you.
You're good, Vice
So
Mayor.
I just want to make it clear then. So what we've done just now is we've realigned ourselves to the ordinance?
That's what I'm hearing.
If the nomination, if I may respond, Mayor? If the nomination is for a specific person, it is for Jay Schwartz, Commissioner Schwartz, to become the Vice Mayor for the next ensuing year. That's the nomination on the floor. The discussion that you've been engaging in relates to a reset, or whatever word you chose to use, that would include a 2-3-1-4 district issue. That's not part of the motion, but that's part of your discussion, part of the public record.
Well, it makes a big impact on my vote. So I just want to know that, yes, we are nominating Commissioner Schwartz, but more so because he represents District 2. And District 2 is the reference in the ordinance. And the intention would be that we move forward, and unless there's reason to disrupt that, then...
Clarification, Mayor?
Go ahead, clarification, then we're gonna move on.
And I'm
Vice Mayor?
okay.
No, I hear,
Okay.
what you're saying, and are you then saying that while the nomination's a nomination, but the intent of all of that is that we sort of write this and do the 2314, that be part of
That
where
we
we're
stay
going for
with
it.
what the ordinance is, with the intention, and God willing, we don't have cogs in the wheel again.
And
Okay.
but specifically the 2314 we're
All right,
talking, yeah.
I'm fine
All
with it.
right, everybody clear?
Thank you.
City Clerk, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Seipel,
Yes?
Commissioner Castillo,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good,
My last time as vice mayor, yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yes.
Mayor Ordus,
Yes,
motion passes.
thank you. Let me just say that, Vice Mayor Good has been a great vice mayor for this city. I want to applaud. The job as vice mayor, you know, when the mayor can't make something, or the vice mayor has to step in. Quiet, please, I'm talking.
Do we
Quiet,
do that?
whoever it is, quiet, please.
Let's see what.
Hold on, I'm talking, please.
I'm sorry.
Okay, good. So what I'm saying is a vice mayor has to step in and go ahead and, you know, take that job over as the mayor and proceed with either a procedural motion or others. So Vice Mayor Good, I just want to thank you for the job you did. You did a fantastic job. Did a great job. All right,
Mr. Dodge?
all right.
Mr.
Let's go on with the announcement of items to be pulled from the
Yeah,
agenda.
just a second, please. Mr. Dodge, could you ask staff to review the ordinance, since we're back to the ordinance again, and at the appropriate time, change the names in accordance with what the
All right.
ordinance requires, okay?
We'll do that.
Thanks.
Announcement of items to be pulled from the agenda, City Clerk.
No items, Mayor.
Commission order report.
No commission order to report,
Mayor?
Mayor.
Who is that?
Mayor?
Who is that?
Castillo?
Commissioner Castillo on the commission order report?
No, sir. I was going to ask you, at the appropriate time, if we could take item 22 out of order. There are numerous people here that came for that item, and I was hoping that you would agree to take it out of order so that they could get home.
Okay, let's do that right now.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, though, before we do that, may I make my appointment before we move on to
Yes.
that?
Yeah, go ahead.
And if,
If
before.
I may make my appointment.
And
At the appropriate time.
a point of personal privilege, Mayor.
Look, I don't want to get out of this meeting's rotation. So, I understand what Commissioner Castillo says, and I understand what Commissioner, Vice Mayor Good is saying. So what we're gonna do is, Vice Mayor Good, you have an appointment, go ahead and make that appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, tonight, I would like to recognize and say that I am honored to appoint Mr. Carlton Crawl to the Board of Adjustment tonight. Mr. Crawl has been a resident of Pembroke Pines for over 31 years.
Wow.
He has shared in and is well aware of the growth within Pembroke Pines. Recognizing that the Board of Adjustment has influence on the changing landscape of residential properties over time, I could not be more convinced that Mr. Crowell is the right person for this role. He is an accomplished professional with over 40 years' experience in the construction industry, ranging from design to field supervision. Aside from the multi-million-dollar projects he has responsibility for, he is a local community activist with leadership roles in the Florida Bible Church that serves the citizens of Pembroke Pines tremendously. I have known Mr. Crawl for many years, and I can vouch for his truthfulness, his credibility, and his dependability. He is a dedicated father and a loyal friend. And when you read the credentials and you get to know him personally, you will know why I am honored to be able to make this appointment tonight. So again, I would like to present to you Mr. Carlton Crawl as District 1 representative of the Board of Adjustment. Mr. Crawl.
Mr. Crawl? Just push the button to speak, sir, please. There you go. Your name and address, please.
Bring the mic down, sir.
Just pull it.
Thank you
There
very
we
much.
go.
Thank you.
You'll learn because we're gonna keep you busy.
Carlton Kroll, 10220 Southwest 15th Street, Pembroke Pines, Florida, 33025. I reside in the Landings.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you for accepting this great appointment.
Mr. Good, I'm honored and here to serve this great board.
Thank you. Commissioner,
We're ready to get him to work. I got his package for tomorrow night, so.
Tomorrow night.
Mr. Carl, sorry, this is Pembroke Pines, this is what we do.
Mr. Carl, if I may, I just wanted to, first off,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
great.
Commissioner Cyphers, you want to be recognized?
I did, Mayor, I thought you
Okay.
did, I'm sorry, I apologize. Great appointment, but I want to tell you, I started on the Board of Adjustment and was on it for many years and learned a lot. It's a great place to learn a lot and to put your expertise and your knowledge there. So get ready to start running because they're already handing you your work.
Yes, I was going to be an observer.
No, it doesn't work that way.
There's no learning curve, right? You weren't in and you will vote.
Thank you. All right.
Very cool.
City Clerk, let's bring item 22 forward, please.
Mayor, if I may, there is an item at the request of the public. Did you wish to keep that in the order or after item 22?
Okay, that's what happens when everybody comes in, I get out of order. Go ahead and take the item off the public. Yes, please.
Okay. Item at the request of the public, registered by Mike Terry of Holly Lake. Please step forward. He wishes to speak on the wildfire response.
Okay. God bless you for going through that wildfire. Can you push that button again?
Let us smoke.
Okay, and name and address for the record?
Hi, I'm Terry Moody. My address is 21770 Northwest 8th Place, Pembroke Pines, 33029. I'd like to start by first recognizing the fire department. And
Best in any city.
yes, and the police department for setting up a command center and keeping us informed of whether we had to leave or not, because it was knocking on our door. And for Ira Seipel for coming out not once, not twice, but 3 times to make sure that we were all okay. Because that fire on Saturday night turned around. And at 9 o'clock at night, I'm texting her, telling her we needed help again. Because it made an abrupt turn and came right back on us like a red monster coming up behind that water plant. And it was scary. But she had the fire department and what are those other guys? Forestry right out there and protecting us again. And so we were saved again. And then finally Sunday it rained and went away. So thank you to the fire department and the police department and of course the commissioner for always putting us and thinking about us. Thank you.
Did I say something?
Same thing. We just wanted to express our appreciation to the city of Pembroke Pines. The fire department, the police department, the Division of Forestry was out there. Like I say, we had multiple fire trucks out there spraying down the area to keep it dry or wet so it couldn't burn. Just greatly appreciated the effort.
We're very lucky.
For the whole community.
We're very lucky.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mayor, if I may.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Thank you, Mayor. It was around 1 or 2 o'clock on Friday. I was with the pilot who from the Division of Forestry, and it had been burning all day. And they said they were going to start a controlled burn, and that they were going to make sure that it didn't breach the levee. And then the wind changed, and things got super real. And I also want to say, thank you to our fire department and our police department for doing what they do day in and day out. I mean, they saved my home a year and a half ago in under 4 minutes. So, it's nice to know that the little money that we put in and the benefit, how much benefit we get out of it. I mean, it's just tremendous. But again, Mayor, you know, we have the best. And I know that you and Commissioner Seipel were on the phones making sure everything was good. I sent the city manager a photo with the fire out the next morning, 8 o'clock Sunday morning. It was looking really good. Now, for those folks on social media who didn't understand what ash looked like, you have it now. So just imagine it's the Florida snow, but you know, April is fire season. And when the winds are up and it dries out, it can be very dangerous. But I can tell you, there's over 10,000 acres burned. You have no worries. There's nothing left that can be possibly burnt just to the west of you guys. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor. All right, Commissioner, item 22, Commissioner Castillo.
Thank you very much, Mayor. This is the discussion and possible action to designate as a permanent nature preserve. It says 22, but it's 24 acres of city-owned land located south of Pines Boulevard, west of 208th Avenue, popularly known as the area where the bald eagles nest. Colleagues, the community has been talking to me for years about this particular parcel. And it is one of the last remaining buildable parcels in Pembroke Pines. The city acquired this property, I believe it was in 2009. It is informally known as the Chambers property. This is a property that was supposed to be housing, and something happened with the owner, and he wasn't able to develop the housing, and it fell into tax arrears. And in lieu of taxes, the property ended up with the city of Pembroke Pines, and it has been city-owned property ever since. For the last 16 years, bald eagles have chosen this location as their as a nesting site, and that has always been a tremendous honor for the city of Pembroke Pines. I know the mayor has been out there many times. Commissioner Seipel has been out there many times. And I constantly, it's right down the block from where I live, so I constantly see individuals, some of them are here, who gather outside to take photos and to watch these majestic animals there. There are federal laws that protect land where majestic animals like bald eagles breed. Even if the bald eagles weren't there, and may they come forever to that location, the residents in Western Pembroke Pines would want this area designated as a preserve. The city manager and I have had this conversation. It was a conversation that he welcomed. It triggered a number of thoughts that he had in mind as to how to best go about it. He has numerous questions about that need to be solved. There is no immediate hurry to do this because no one is going to build on this land. However, you, my colleagues, know, because you've gotten the phone calls as well as I do, that a big part of this land is zoned for 0 lot lines, housing. And we have, on occasion, gotten calls from lobbyists interested in the property, and none of those things have ever panned out. But I want the residents of Pembroke Pines to know, and I'm hopeful that through my motion tonight, which is simply to have a conceptual approval of the idea of creating a nature preserve out there with this land, and then directing the city manager to come back to us with what he thinks is possible, that we can begin getting this under control. In terms of the uses of the land, I want to wait for the city manager to come back with his items, but he could very well come back with leaving it alone, creating a situation where children can learn there, something about an educational component, other open space possibilities. It's entirely possible that this parcel could be swapped with the South Florida Water Management District, which is the surrounding property manager, and made part of their preserve, and then maybe we can do a mitigation or land use somewhere else. I have no idea what the possibilities are. All of those are on the table. We didn't have that conversation. I don't have an immediate preference. except to make sure that the city manager gets an opportunity to bring us something back, and that it includes making sure that this land is never built on. I want to make sure that it is preserved.
Is there a second?
So that is my motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Seifel. Discussion.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Seifel.
Yes, thank you. Commissioner, I think this is really a great item. The concept of this is a great item. We certainly have heard enough from our residents that, no more construction is desired, that we're kind of done. We're kind of done with that right now. And so, this beautiful, pristine piece of land out there, is just that, and we were so very fortunate as a city to have Eagles choose to live in Pembroke Pines. I mean, because that just doesn't happen everywhere. So we were fortunate about that, for that to happen. I listened to what you were saying, and I agree with most of the direction that you're going in. And I have had some conversation also with city manager, and I know he has some thoughts about the possible uses or not out there. So I would like to also give him an opportunity to perhaps come back to us to have some more discussion to see even what his thoughts would be. But during my discussions with staff and it came very clear to me that, and some of the research I did just on Eagles and the Audubon Society and reading some of the stuff that really good information they put out there, that if they're very comfortable in their surroundings as they are, and should things get disturbed in any way, that causes them great distress. And sometimes they leave that spot and they go somewhere else where they don't feel as stressful. You heard tonight a little bit about the fire that was west of Holly Lake. Guess what? The Eagles left when they had that smoke in the air, and they smelled that, because to them that's fear. And so they went away. Unfortunately, they came back, in a quick period of time. But the least little disturbance causes them, a real extreme distress. So the one thing I think, Commissioner, that you brought up would be that it be a youth, I think you said it, like a youth learning learning experience, to talk about environment and that kind of stuff. I would not be in favor of that, just for what I said. I think any movement out there is going to cause stress to the animals. Anything that changed to the eagles specifically, but to the other animals as well. And we already have on Sheridan Street, we have, 400 acres, I think, out there of the environmental, with the big pier and all that, where we could have learning experiences for kids there. So that part of it, I don't think I could necessarily be, in agreement with, because I think it would be stressful for the Eagles. I was actually thinking of making an amendment to your item tonight, but if we have consensus tonight that we're not going forward with anything other than kind of bringing this back with more information from city manager about what his thoughts are, and maybe hearing from the residents, but all the while, my intent, no matter basically what comes back, is that I will not be in favor of any construction or any building or anything that is out there that's just not necessary. The one thing that does give me a little bit of pause for concern is, wasn't too terribly long ago that we had very, very bad flooding, especially out west. So my concern would be, and I'd like to have more information brought forward on this particular piece of property that sits between Pines and Miramar, which is a huge flowway for water. Do we need to have conversations with South Florida Drainage District, South Florida Water Management, on ways to help preserve that in the right way? Having been out there and seen it a lot, I know there's a lot of muck that's out there, which is a problem for moving water. There are a lot of invasive plants,
Melaleucas.
I think there's Melaleucas on that towards that backside, but a lot of other, bad things that are growing out there. And so I don't know how all of that fits together in the context of us, and I'm saying us because I'm hoping everybody's in agreement, on how we can preserve that almost as it is right now, but if we do have to work somehow with flood management and that, how would all that play in? And I don't have enough of that tonight, but if I could add that to maybe your list of what we're looking to have be brought back to us, I think that would certainly help all of us make better decisions on how we really move forward with this. Again, with the absolute intent of it not being a zero lot line, it not being any residential, any commercial, anything like that, that it be a natural, as best as it can be with with flooding, if that is an issue or not. But I think we need a lot more information from experts to come back and put everything into the pot so we can see where everything goes. So
And that's
if that
what the
would be
motion states.
your intent, then I would be very supportive of that.
That is the intent.
Okay.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. What's not in the backup is the Federal Eagle Act. I did some research on it. You cannot come within 660 feet of an eagle's nest. And observation areas all over the country use high-powered binoculars, which means that you're well beyond 660 feet and probably closer to a quarter of a mile. When the item finally was published, it allowed me to speak to residents. But prior to it being published, there were emails coming in that I just could not answer because it would be a sunshine violation. So when things come out on social media, sometimes they don't comply with the regulations that we're, as elected officials, are bound to. Also on social media, I found disturbing what appeared to be a recent drone footage of the nest. Drones don't have binoculars. They don't have zoom lenses. And I will be reaching out and trying to find out where the image came from, because while someone may have gotten excited about the item, you can't break the law. Just short of 3 years ago, there was a gentleman who came to this podium and talked about, and I was moved by an email I received from the Audubon Society within the last few days. And there was also emails received from residents who it felt like they were unclear or just didn't know about the steps that prior commissions, and I will give Mayor Ortiz all the credit in the world because he was here with Mayor Facchetti when this thing all went down. I would like to ask the clerk to go ahead and play the YouTube video. It's only 2 minutes, so bear with me here. But I think it's important that you know what the city has done for you already. City clerk, whenever you are ready. And I apologize if there's a 5-second ad that pops up. Just hit skip ad if it pops up. It's on
Florida
YouTube.
Wetlands Bank, which has a long, wonderful history in the city of Pembroke Pines.
It's not being shown, City clerk.
When people needed wetlands mitigation because they were impacting
City
areas
clerk,
that were either
it's not being
current
shown
or
on the screen.
former wetlands.
Who does
They
that
got
sound
away
like,
with a
George?
lot of
Yeah, it's coming through. The video is playing, but it's not being shared. If you could just stop that and replay it. In the meantime, while the clerk is doing that, Mayor, I get to see that site almost every day, and I'll tell you, I've seen these eagles fly. It's majestic, and from my vantage
Florida
point,
Wetlands Bank, which has a long, wonderful history in the city of Pembroke Pines. Back in the day, the early 90s, when people needed wetlands mitigation because they were impacting areas that were either current wetlands or former wetlands, they got away with a lot of things, including just giving land to the city. And what happened was the city had received a very large parcel of real estate when a lot of development was taking place. It was degraded wetlands. There wasn't much you could do with it. Had a lot of melaleucas on it. There was really no useful purpose. There was no real animal life on the property. We brought it to the city to propose that we would be able to take this degraded land and permit it for the complete restoration creating 9 separate ecosystems, and to store the wetlands, do the wetlands planting. We planted literally 500,000 trees and plants. In the long run, it was a smashing success. In those days, again, it was pretty primitive, even though we were living under the original first George Bush mantra of no net loss of wetlands functions and values, which was, he was the first to pioneer that. We started out at 345 acres. It was about $10 or $12 million worth of work that went into the full restoration. And obviously, it's a gem, a beautiful preserve. It was a great success, got a lot of publicity for the city. When I say, I mean not just local, but I mean like CNN and the New York Times, because it was the first wetlands mitigation bank in the country to transfer a U.S. Army Corps of Engineer credit. When we completed the mitigation bank, we hired the Audubon Society to go out and do bird counts. There was no bird life of any consequence when we started. They counted 106 different species of birds on the property.
It really is amazing to see. I mean, to walk it on the ground is one thing, Mayor, to see it from the air, we have something special. We have something special in this city.
Something wrong with the audio?
No, just the guy on the screen.
Oh, hello.
So, anyway, Mayor, I want to thank you for your, 30 years of leadership. If it wasn't for you and Mayor Facchetti and the commission at the time, we would not have this gem. And you can go ahead and close that out. I have no idea what's coming up next. But certainly, the Eagle Preserve is the Eagle's Nest is currently being broadcast on the Comcast channel, which has a high-powered lens. City staff, whenever they are in the nest, city staff make sure that no one can enter the property. So I want to make sure that the wildlife is protected, and I want to give the city manager the opportunity to bring back to the commission what he feels be, best served for the property. So that's what I'm willing to support.
Commissioner Good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just, can we see the aerial again for just a moment? I have a question for the city manager, if I may. You just need to see the aerial.
Who's in charge of the aerial? Do you need the aerial to answer your question?
Either 2 or 3, yes. So, to the city manager, the area that surrounds this property is, who owns that property?
The South Florida Water Management District.
Okay. And is that part of the proposed C9 impoundment project?
I believe originally it was, but I don't know if they have plans to use that. I believe it was supposed to be used for like a reservoir, but I think they no longer consider the need for that property, but they do own it and maintain.
Okay, that's interesting, because if they don't need that property, what does that mean then to the city?
Well, actually, it's their ownership. I don't know what their current plans are, or future plans for it.
All right.
Or to what? I didn't hear you.
What's that?
I didn't hear what you said.
I said I don't know what their current plans or future plans. I know many years ago I inquired of them if they were interested in selling it, but they had no interest at that time.
So if we may, can we get an update on what is the intention? I mean, that was supposed to be a reservoir that was to help assist with flooding.
I will make that inquiry.
Yeah, but if they're not needing that, that's another interesting perspective. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to support the item as it's addressed tonight. With the manager coming back, I have the same concerns. Let me say that gentleman in the audience tonight sent me a picture of triplets. We have triplets in Pembroke Pines. And as the great Vice Mayor was just talking about, we were following these eagles for a number of years. And it's strange, but they come back to one Melaleuca, one blank Melaleuca, and that's where they nest. And for years, we've been, getting wildlife involved and going up and taking pictures to make sure they were okay and keeping people away from parking. And then we we found out that when the eaglet falls out of the nest, then they just get up and they fly away, home run. So they named one Frank. That's what I was told, they named one Frank. But it's amazing that, and they had one problem with the nest, and we had some people help them with the nest, the foundation of it. But it's just amazing. I hear about this all the time, no matter where I go in this country, about the eagles in Pembroke Pines.
We're very fortunate.
Very, very fortunate. So I'm going to support the item in front of us. So any further discussion?
Yes,
Go ahead, Commissioner Castillo.
thank you. So just to review the motion that's been made and seconded, this is conceptual approval of designating this area as preserved land with direction to the city manager to come back to us with the best options for proceeding, and then there'll be additional votes and items coming once the manager is ready to present. Mr. Manager, how long do you figure it will take before you can sort of come back to us with something?
Listening to the conversation today, I would say there's really no rush. I would imagine a couple months.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
Mayor, it's my understanding that, based on the comments that I heard from Commissioner Seipel, Commissioner Good, that there's some questions regarding drainage, there's questions about flooding.
Well, let's come back with the manager.
No, I understand. It's the designation of preserve. Right now, the only thing preserved is the city owns it, and it takes 4/5.
Vice Mayor, I understand, but that's what the manager is coming back with, all the details. We could go on all night about details, but we don't know them.
Okay.
So we're asking the manager to come back
Conceptual
with the specific details. All right?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good, I mean, Commissioner Seipel, did you have a, before you move on?
Mayor, no, I just was going to ask my colleague that, and to include also like everything that we talked
Everything
about
that we've
tonight,
said
with
is
the
included.
information from
Absolutely.
the
It's all
water
part of the
people,
motion.
a land engineer telling us the quality of land out there and how all that plays.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
It's all
you.
part of the motion.
Thank you.
Okay.
If we could get a
Before we
copy of the
proceed,
Eagle Act
does
as
anybody
well.
from the audience want to speak on it? All right, City Clerk,
Mayor?
call the roll, please.
Mayor
I
Susan
see a hand.
Snyder had requested to speak on the item.
Hi, Bethany. You guys are doing great.
To
You
come.
don't need to hear from me. I'd love to talk to you tonight.
All right. How about you, sir? Are we doing great enough?
Yeah, I was gonna speak as well, but you guys did that. We got it, right? Yeah.
Did you want to speak, sir? Sir, did you want to speak? Come forward. I press the speaker on the microphone, need your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. Yes, sir.
Alejandro Lopez, 2000 Northwest 180th Way, in Silver Lakes. So I had a few concerns about some of the discussion that was brought up. The name that's being used for it is sort of a nature preserve. The way I've seen from the satellite images of the property right now, it's not necessarily in a natural state. The natural state of that land would be for it to be wetlands that it would be flooded, the same way that the Chapel Trail Preserve is, for example. And so while my understanding is that the land was drained at some point, and then eagles and trees grew on it, and then eagles came and nested on it. So, and while I appreciate the eagles being there, that it seems sort of to be incidental that they're there. They're there because of human intervention. So my hope for this would be really if the land could be returned to its natural state. The same if for example the rest of the surrounding area that's owned by the Water Management District could be sold to the city or something like that.
We'll find that out when the manager brings it back to us.
Right. And the most ideal would be, especially since the land is right next to US 27 and the rest of the Everglades, for it to be turned into something like the Chapel Trail Preserve in the long term.
Okay.
Thank you.
City Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mayor, if I may.
Do you have a question back there? Who wants to speak? I went around, just tell me who wants to speak. Put your hands up. All right, you're the final speaker, sir? Everybody agree?
Mayor?
Calm down.
Mayor, in the meantime, there was also one other comment from an email that was sent.
Say
and they
it
asked-
now then, City Clerk, while the gentleman's coming. Hold on, sir.
Do I press this button here?
Now, hold on 1 minute.
It's on.
City Clerk, go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Mayor,
Hold on, sir. City Clerk, go ahead with the comment.
Oh, did you want me to read it
Just
before
wait.
the
Yes.
gentleman
Wait.
spoke?
Yes.
Okay. The email is from Ms. Lambert. Dear Mayor and Commissioners, my husband and I are West Pines residents for 20-plus years. We chose West Pines specifically for the green spaces it offered, and it has presented itself as a caring community. We knew development would take some of the green space we enjoyed that existed then, but we believed it would be developed at a measured pace with careful forethought. We believe this city valued its green space and wildlife in addition to its concerns for an overall quality of life for all its residents. We have seen an overabundance of development, permissive votes by the Western commissioners and the mayor who do not suffer our traffic problems out west. The new and ever-increasing flooding after storms, the empty buildings through the years, or see the deer and other animals killed on the roads here while looking for their destroyed, newly raised forest homes. This small tract of land, 24 acres, would be given a designation that would preserve it for our eagles, of whom we say we are proud and because of whom we have received national press, and act as a protected area where we could perhaps partner with federal, state, or county to provide educational opportunity for our young people to understand the value of preserving wildland in its natural state instead of decimating it and treating it as valueless. We will destroy ourselves if we do not care more for our planet and its land. We now know this to be true. Preserving this land would set an example for our young people, show them nature is of value and importance, and prove we recognize that by taking this step, acknowledging wildlife has an intangible and inestimable value. My husband and I are fortunate to be in a community which is surrounded by water or dry wetland preserve on all sides. We have nature and wildlife grounding us and connecting us to our wholeness and oneness every day, and are blessed to have that. We would wish every young person to have an opportunity to experience this grounding and wholeness. There is a wisdom in experiencing the land that cannot be taught in a classroom. Please allow and support Commissioner Castillo's proposal that this land be evaluated for preservation as an environmentally protected area. If it is still possible that this letter be added to the record for this evening's meeting, I would appreciate it.
Thank you.
Heather Lambert.
Yes, sir. Your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Phil Martin. I reside at 511 Northwest 158th Avenue, Pembroke,
Good evening.
Florida. Mr. Mayor, distinguished members of the commission, thank you so much for your hard work in making Pembroke Pines one of the most desirable cities to live in the state of Florida. Thank you for that. I just wanted to say that I've been watching our Eagles now for 16 years. I have been a caregiver to bald eagles for 5 years. And as you know, when the nest collapsed last year, I, along with the fire department and Fish and Wildlife, went to rescue those eaglets. I can tell you from being back there, there is an abundance of wildlife back there that call that land home. And what I'd like to do is just offer up to you, if there's any information or anything that I can help you with in your research, please do not hesitate to call upon me.
Okay.
Thank you for what you
You'll
do.
get all your information to the manager before you leave.
Yes, I will, sir.
Thanks a lot. Good information.
Photos of what you have taken and some of the wildlife would be very helpful as well, so that we know what's back in there.
Right?
Yes, I
Very
will
good.
certainly do that.
City Clerk, call the roll, please. Okay.
Thank you
just
again.
give me- You just give me information after.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Seifel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Good?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you all. Thank you. And Thank you for coming tonight. All right, on our agenda, we have consent agenda 1 through 15. What is your pleasure? No polls. 1 through 16, sorry. What, any polls? No polls.
12B, Mayor.
12B. 12B, site poll. Okay, anybody else? Hearing none? I need a motion for item 1 through 15, 16, other than 12B. So moved. Okay, motion by Commissioner Castillo, second by Commissioner Seifel. Discussion? Call a roll, please, City Clerk. Call a roll, please, City Clerk.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Seifel?
Yes.
Commissioner Good?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Commissioner Seifel, item 12B.
Thank you, Mayor. Motion to approve request to advertise solicitation B, PSPW-22-05, Pembroke Falls YMCA Aquatic Center parking lot lighting update.
Second move.
Second. Okay. Motion by Commissioner Seifel, second by Commissioner Castillo. Go ahead, Commissioner Seifel.
I'm just a comment about this. I'm just very pleased that it's on the agenda to be looked at. It's kind of a dark space back there, and does really need and it's used a lot, so it does need to be lighted a little bit better and some improvements in there. So I know that's been something that's been looked at for a while as part of our parks and improvements, and looking to make them more pleasingly, aesthetically pleasing, as well as safer and more used to it. So not any comment other than I'm very glad to see that it's on here for us to move forward. And thank you to Ms. Sorensen for always being out there with looking at those
issues. City Clerk, call a roll, 12B, please.
Commissioner Seifel?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Good?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, we're now on item 17, City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor Commission. Item 17 for the record is a motion to ratify the adoption of proposed ordinance number 2021-21, formerly known as ordinance number 1986 on second reading. For the record, proposed ordinance number 2021-21 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, providing for the recreation and reestablishment of the geographic boundaries for the 4 election districts in the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, in accordance with Section 3.02 of the City Charter, providing for findings and conclusions of the City Commission, providing for the implementation of revised election districts to be effective for the elections held in the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, following the effective date of this ordinance and thereafter, providing a form of request to the supervised elections of Broward County, Florida, to implement the revised plan established pursuant to this redistricting ordinance and to create functional districts consistent with the identification of geographic boundaries for election districts, providing for the attachment of election district maps, charts, street addresses, and graphic descriptions which shall be attached to and made a part of this ordinance, providing for authorization and direction to the city administration to implement the terms, conditions, and provisions of this ordinance, providing for conflicts, severability, and providing for an effective date. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, we get a motion on 17.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Seifel, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Castillo, discussion.
Yes.
Vice Mayor, go ahead.
Parliamentary inquiry?
Hold on a second, Vice Mayor, go ahead.
Through the mayor, city attorney, I thought we did 2 readings the last time. How's this different?
We did. If I may respond, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
This is a ratification of a previously adopted ordinance, which is adopted on an emergency basis and provides the opportunity and due process rights to any third party who did not receive notice at the last hearing. It is a ratification, not an adoption. It is a perfunctory approval. The ordinance was legally adopted under Chapter 166, and this is a cautionary text that was discussed during the meeting at that time.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Castillo has a parliamentary.
I withdraw my question, the Vice Mayor asked.
All right. Call the roll, please, on 17.
Mr. Mayor, before we call the roll.
Commissioner Good, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I will support this item. I just want to point out a very important thing for me to disclose. So as we move forward, we see this. I do have a person who lives in the redistricting of 1 to 2, who is now in 2.
I know where you're going with that, if I may.
No, Commissioner Good.
No, I just want to make it clear that, I have this person is appointed to 2 of my,
right.
is my appointee for two boards. One is the Environmental Board, and the other is the Cultural and Diversity Board. And I do intend to keep that person on that board.
Should be.
So that,
Shouldn't be any problem.
they're moving from District 1 to District 2. But I just want to make it clear. So if anybody sees I have district
Mayor?
representation.
Shouldn't be any problem.
If I may,
Commissioner, City Attorney?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Shouldn't be any problem at all, correct?
Should not be at this point.
Okay.
Mayor?
Can we move on? No problem at all.
No problem, I just have a comment.
Go ahead.
That I think that it's a very good move, and I think that a volunteering on any of our boards should never have to feel the impact, a negative impact of something that was out of their control, and should still be able to. So I support that 100%. I think
Vice
that's
Mayor
great.
Schwartz?
yeah, I was going to say,
All right, good.
recognizing that there was a potential of that conflict, however long it absolutely, I would never make a change or like that for you. And I did have some concerns regarding some of the other maps and how it would also impact boards. So your comments are timely, and RAM needs to continue to serve our city on an awesome basis like he does.
Call the roll, City Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, just to confirm, the public record was open for the purposes of
Any public anybody from the audience want to speak on this item? Hearing none, the City Clerk, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Good?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion
For the record, Mayor and Commissioner, the item still remains as item number 1986 as a permanent number because this is a ratification of a prior approved emergency ordinance. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioner.
But we're done with district maps now,
We're
right?
done.
We're on
Legally.
item 18, City Clerk. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioner. Number 18 is a motion to pass proposed ordinance number 2022-01 on first reading, which is a local planning ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, authorizing, if you will, the creation of a safe neighborhood improvement district pursuant to Chapter 163 of the Florida statutes, providing for codification, creating Chapter 159 of the City Code of Ordinance entitled Special Districts, creating Section 159.01 of the City Code entitled Safe Neighborhood Improvement Districts, providing for conflicts, severability, and providing for an effective date. First reading on the record, Mr. Mayor and Commissioner, on the floor for consideration.
Moved by Commissioner Seipel. Second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Castillo. Discussion.
Yes, Mayor?
Commissioner Seipel, quickly.
Yes, Mayor. I read through this, I had some discussion with City Manager, and as I read through this, a lot of the language in here is talking about safety, whether it's pedestrian safety, traffic safety, all of that. So what I'd like to ask either Mr. Sam, City Manager, or City Attorney, how does this item connect to what we're doing now with our master traffic plan?
Mr. Sam?
Good evening, Mike Sam, Director of Planning and Economic Development. Commissioner, technically, this ordinance puts a tool in the city's toolbox by allowing somebody else to come in doing another ordinance that could follow one of the four categories that are in the backup. I don't know that it directly relates to that transportation item. I think that there's some other items that may come up in the future where an HOA, specifically using the statutes that are in here, to create their own district within the guidelines that are provided. This really gets it on our books. I worked with the city attorney to put this in our code book, not just pass this ordinance, to put it in our code book so that it's very present, it's available, and that people can utilize the items from Chapter 163, but as they relate to this section.
And one more question, if I may, Mayor. Mr. Sam, this special districts, and I know originally it says safe neighborhood improvements, and those are the kind of the titles of some of the paragraphs. Does this have anything to do or any connection to what discussion that we've had maybe a couple of years ago now about the Pembroke Lakes area and how their HOA was involved and all of that? And does this have any anything with any of that kind of stuff?
I remember.
You know, I wouldn't want to speculate where it could apply to directly. I think groups would have to come in and look at the statute to see how that it applied to their community. If you look in the rest of your backup, we put a copy of the state statute, and there's a couple different districts that somebody could potentially apply for, then the requirements that goes along with it. I wouldn't want to speculate specifically with Pembroke Lakes or another community, but it does give the ability for a community to come in and look at the statute. It's on our code. This is an enacting ordinance that would allow a future ordinance should a community want to address issues in their community. I'll defer to the city attorney to go a little bit further if necessary, but I think that.
Well, this
City
is
Attorney,
first,
we okay?
Mayor, this is first reading, so I would ask that by second reading, if there are issues like what I'm bringing up tonight and how that may play out, that we would be able to have some information either from Mr. Stam, city manager, or city attorney to explain that to us. I'm not saying whether I'm for or against, I just need a little more info on what it does.
City Attorney, we got that clear?
I do, and for the record, Mayor and Commission, Mr. Stam speaks to the truth of the ordinance, as well as the overlying statute that governs it. It is not site-specific or applicant-specific, and that's not the intent.
Call the roll, please, on item 18.
Mr. Mayor, I had a question, please.
You know what, we don't change any more names until the following, because now my board is changed.
The buttons.
Thanks a lot, Christine.
Yes, from now on, you must
Commissioner Good.
change the buttons first. So I generally understand, and because this is first reading, I probably will have additional questions beyond, but when you do a neighborhood improvement district, you basically can do it's like a special taxing district, is that correct?
Not necessarily. Again, I'll defer to the city attorney specifically. There is 4 specific types of districts in this statute that an association can apply for. It's not necessarily a special taxing district, although there are some provisions that district could apply for. But the bigger key here, Commissioner, is that if we were to enact anything, an association would have to come in and get another ordinance passed. This really just puts this tool on our code. And I'm trying to keep it global. I'm not trying to tie it to one community. Sam, excuse me, city attorney, we'd like to dance together, I guess you could say.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just to supplement the Mr. Stam's co-counseling this evening.
City Attorney, dance away.
He's actually accurate.
Dance together.
If I may quickly, Mr. Mayor and Commission, there are 4 distinct different types of districts available under state statute. They only can be implemented by a separate ordinance. This ordinance doesn't create the specific ones that are otherwise available, but they are legally, some can assess, some can tax, some can assess and tax, and some can do nothing. And basically, the commission controls the answer, controls not just the message, but the answer to how it actually happens. So by considering this ordinance, you're simply putting a planning tool in the code. I think that Mike has it allocated as a separate division or separate section to enable there to be some clarity to the fact that it's not mishmash with something else in the document, as I understand. That's a legal term, by the way.
We're specifically creating Chapter 159 in our Code of Ordinances, which outlines this statute. But as the city attorney's alluded to, if anybody, any association, any group would like to lose one of these items, they would have to come in and actually provide you with what they'd like to do.
But this is so global that it opens the door for a lot of things to happen coming in.
Global within the context of the statute.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, I still have a questioning.
City Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Mayor, I still have questioning. He only answered one question.
I'm sorry.
And they were dancing, and I know you got mesmerized by their dancing. I did too.
I'm not very
I don't know
good.
how I got my answer, but I heard dancing.
Yeah.
Because the attorney said, of course, that this commission would basically define whether this improvement district would be funded or not. But of course, it seems to be already defined in the ordinance in a sense, because it does speak to public money, borrowed, expended, loaned, and granted. So I will have more questioning about that. The second thing I have is, you are emphasizing HOAs. So a large part of District 1 and District 2 are not subject to HOAs. And so how does a safe neighborhood improvement district get defined within those communities?
I use the HOA more as a organizational tool. The HOA could come forth and create a policy or a proposed ordinance that would come before the commission to set some guidelines. In terms of individual subdivision, again, I would defer to the city attorney if they could apply for the same type of item. Again, this is just really the enacting ordinance to get it on the books to allow people to apply. It's my feeling that there will be there's a path forward with people, for associations and or groups to come forward within this context. But the statute outlines who, what, where, when, why, and on how this could happen. And again, the illusion with the dancing with the city attorney is really that this is a very broad overstroke, getting it on the books, so that somebody would have to come in with something much more specific as it pertains to an individual component of this statute, and then request approval of that via ordinance before anything could go into effect.
That's fine.
So then another question here is, it is the city's discretion to create these districts, and it does not require an approval by the member or the folks that live within the district that's being defined?
I'll defer to the city attorney on that.
City attorney?
Mr. Mayor, assuming that this ordinance is adopted at some future moment, and an applicant were to come in for a specific type of district under state statute, there would have to be a separate ordinance that would otherwise authorize that particular district for that particular applicant.
Okay.
And that's the secondary application process, which has not yet occurred. It may never occur, or if it does occur, is regulated by this ordinance as a global entry point for the commission.
All right.
Mayor?
Yes, Commissioner Castillo.
That's a very good point. But I have every confidence in the city commission not to impose this on anyone. The residents would have to, I mean, we don't even do speed humps unless so many, what is it, 50% now? Come forward. So I think that, I think this is worth a whirl. And, I have every confidence that it won't get out of line. We'll wait for the residents to ask for it. But if this makes for better communities at the micro level, and in particular pockets of Pembroke Pines, it might be worth, it might do some good. So I'm going to support it and see where it goes.
Right.
And I'm not necessarily disagreeing. I just want to be very careful because
we got your point. We got your point.
What happens,
We
8
got your
years from now
Yep. Got your
may not be the same as what we feel.
Well, I mean, we could put something in the ordinance that requires
Folks,
showing of
we
public
can't be
support.
talking to one another.
Why not?
We'll be here all night if we do that.
So, Mr. Mayor.
We've got comments on the record now. Are there any further comments other than what's on the record?
Sure, so,
Commissioner Good, go ahead.
yes, I mean, just, what just came out of a little bit of this conversation can we give some direction to incorporate in this ordinance, some safety mechanism to ensure that the public has participation?
Not imposed.
City
Not
clerk,
imposed.
city attorney?
Between first and second reading, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to work with Mr. Stan to the
All right.
extent legally possible under the state statute.
Good. All right, clear?
Yep.
City clerk, call a roll, please.
Commissioner Seifel?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Good?
Yes?
Vice Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Item 19, city attorney.
And just for the record, the second and final reading on this item would be May the 4th in these chambers. Number 19,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor. Thank you. This is proposed resolution number 2022-R07, is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, approving the local housing assistance plan as required by the State Housing Initiatives Partnership Program Act in subsections 420.907 through 420.9079 of the Florida statutes, in Rule and Chapter 67-37 of the FAC, known as the Florida Administrative Code, authorizing and directing the appropriate city officials to execute any necessary documents and certifications needed by the state, authorizing the submission of the local housing assistance plan for review and approval by the Florida Housing Finance Corporation, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and finally providing for an effective date. Item 19 on the floor, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, is a motion, a second? Second by Commissioner Seifel. Discussion. Hearing none. City clerk, call a roll.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Seifel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schwartz? Commissioner Good?
Yes?
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
For the record, Mayor and Commission, the permit number is number 3787 for the resolution.
All right. Tomorrow afternoon at the Financial Plaza downtown Fort Lauderdale, the Broward League has their luncheon. If anybody wants to attend, manager.
Yes, Mayor. I just have one item. I'd like to introduce you this evening, our new utility director, Mr. Mike Bailey. He's with us this
Hey,
evening.
Mike, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Do you know how to push the button yet? It says speak.
See it.
There we go, Mike.
There you go.
I should have worn my glasses. Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, staff. I'm excited to be here. I've been here 2.5 weeks, almost 3 weeks now. I've toured your facilities. I drank your water. You guys have excellent folks working here, excellent facilities. I'm again excited, and I'm looking forward to contributing in any way I can to keep the good work going, or maybe even some improvements here and there. And please, if you ever have any questions or you'd like to take a tour of the facilities, please let me know. I've learned enough of it that I can show it to you. And thanks very much.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay, City Attorney.
No report, Mayor. Thank you very much for
All
the
right,
option.
good report. All right, Vice Mayor, if you take the mic. I have a motion to discuss with possible action to approve municipal co-sponsorship and funding for a Table of 10 United Way of Broward County's Mayor's Gala on Saturday, April 30th, 2022, in the amount of $2,000.
Yes, go for it.
So it sounds like we have lots of seconds. Okay, Mayor?
Go ahead.
Any discussion on the item? Hearing none, clerk, call the roll.
Clerk?
We had a unanimous second?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Castillo?
Yeah.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Good?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Gavel's yours, Mayor.
Vice Mayor, my second item of discussion with possible action to improve a co-sponsorship and funding for a premier level of participation for the Broward League of Cities 65th Annual Gala in the amount of $5,000.
So moved.
All right, seconded by Commissioner Seipel. Discussion. I'd like to just say, Mayor, congratulations on your Hometown Hero Award.
Thank you.
You've been doing this a long time, and I'll just tell you, man, opening day is tomorrow. I just want you to keep swinging, because we need as much help as we can get.
We're gonna swing.
So, I do have a question for the city attorney. City attorney, United Way, Broward League, and other nonprofits have traditionally been supported by the commission. I know that with the Broward ethics ordinance and all that, we have to go through this process, but how can we include it as a part of the budgetary process so that we don't have to do this every year, or are we required to do it every year?
The latter, Mr. Vice Mayor. It's a requirement on the record that you're going to act as a co-sponsor, and it would be appropriate to do so.
So would there be, at a budget visioning session, would it be inappropriate to ask the manager to set aside funds for a future?
It would legally not be a preclusion, no. It would not, the answer is yes, to the extent that you would ask that he do so, he could do so, yes.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner Seipel, you had, no? Okay, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schwartz?
Was Commissioner Seipel was the second?
Oh, that was Commissioner Seipel. Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yeah.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mayor, before we go,
Yes.
the beginning of our meeting, we had a lot of stuff that was going on, but I think we'd be remiss if we did not mention the fabulous Fathers MIA event that happened just recently, and also to give the proper kudos to Commissioner Tom Good for bringing that group to us and for everyone's, great support. It was a fabulous, fabulous event. And if you weren't there, you really, truly missed out on a great
Yeah,
event.
unfortunately, I had people from out of town come to see us, and,
Yeah.
so I could not be there, but,
It was fabulous, and I think the biggest thing that we need to really take away from that, because you can go to a lot of fabulous events, you really can, and have a nice dinner and, you know, whatever. But what really needs to be taken away from that is the impact, a positive impact that this program has on these young women, these young girls, and now they're expanding into the young men as well. And it, you know, we're all going to benefit from that. In the long run, we're all going to benefit from those kids, those young people doing better and having a good direction. And I was so happy with some of them that got scholarships and the things they were going forward to do and study at school. It's really cool. So, Vice Mayor, Commissioner at the time, Commissioner now, thank you for bringing that to our city. We are truly blessed by that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I too,
I wanted to add as well that, Commissioner Good, this is the second time we've had this. It was such a great event that as the evening progressed, and they gave out, awards, people started, volunteering money.
Yeah.
So they raised quite a bit of money. And now that's a foot kick to have more money raised.
Yeah.
They love Pembroke Pines, we love them. Commissioner Good, great organization.
yeah, Mayor.
Vice Mayor, do you have something before we wrap up?
Yeah, at the beginning of the meeting, I just wanted to, I wanted to recognize, Broward County Commissioner, Mark Bogan. He took a step, on Tuesday regarding the conflict, the war that's going on. And, I encourage you to take a look at the resolution that he had sponsored. But the mayor of Maripol reported just before our meeting tonight that there's 5,000 civilians that are dead. And I know that we have done a lot here in Pembroke Pines. This is a global issue. I would like to see, if possible, I know that we are lighting the city up for different things that Commissioner Seipel has brought forward, but I think that yellow and blue needs to light up in this city sooner rather than later, and that a social media post, if that's something that you would want to do, goes out, that we stand with the Ukrainian people. I was recently in Sunny Isles, and it just rips your heart apart what's going on. So, Mayor, it's totally your call. You're the, you do all of those things.
All right, we'll do it.
All right, thanks so much.
All right, thank you all, have a great night.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion is second. All in favor, aye. Opposed? Ayes adjourned. Good meeting. You want another one of these?